Thanks, Amir. Right. Thanks, Amir.
Thank you, Sue.
Have a great Friday. Bye. Oh, Mumsy. Hello, Mumsy. Hi, Mumsy. Oh, and Priscilla's in class. Awesome.
Hi, Sue.
Hi. Hi. I heard you in with my husband just now. So I knew you would be coming into me.
I had to leave his class to join you.
Oh, great. Yeah, we follow after each other. It's him, then me, then him, then me. We go along.
Okay,
we have some
busy.
fun in the morning. Yeah, it's lovely. It's awesome.
That's
Hi,
good.
Priscilla. Great to have you in class too. Great.
Hello there. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Nice to have you back in class. It's
Thank you.
awesome.
I enjoy your classes.
Oh, wow, great. I'm very happy. Oh, it looks quite hot, Mumsy. Looks like it's a warm day in Durban. Oh, wow, a storm coming in. Okay. Priscilla, it's interesting for me because I come from South Africa and Mumsy's from South Africa. So it's lovely to see my home country and my coast. It's lovely. I lived in South Africa for 63 years and then I moved to Australia to help look after my grandchildren. So South Africa is my home, but Australia is beautiful too. We lead a really blessed life here in Australia, I must say. So yeah, I've had to leave grandchildren. Well, grandchildren have been born since I left, so I haven't been able to see them yet, but I will get to see them. I do virtual grandma, and that's awesome.
I do virtual with mine as well.
And all the things that I do in my classes are for virtual because I do them with my grandson. So you can adapt them to virtual. I just get his dad or his mom, help him to get the things ready, and they're on his side and I'm on my side, but we can still talk and make and do together, and that is awesome. No, it really is awesome. Hi, Lester. Lovely to have you in class. Lester is my TA. He's here to help me, to guide me, make sure that I stay on track and that I do all the things I need to do. So that is great. Lovely to have him with me. He's gone through all sorts of classes with me. I'm not sure what he thinks, but we are having fun. And next month we've also got some new ones which you'll like. We've got boredom busters for seniors, and we've got building structures with children, and we've got another African animals one. So there are some new ones joining us as well. So that's going to be really exciting. Hopefully by the end of today, the classes for April will be up and you'll be able to see when they are and where they are. Tony's coming to join us. Hi, Tony. Nice to have you. Lovely to have you in class with us too. Excellent. Now, hi, Tony. Nice to see you. Great. Now, let's see. There are a few more people going to join possibly, but let's begin, and then if they come in, that is awesome. Please feel free to interject at any time, to interact at any time. That's what it's all about. So let's do some screen sharing. Cooking with grandma or grandpa. It doesn't matter if it's granny or grandpa that you are cooking with, you can have just as much fun. I'm hoping my husband is going to do some with his granddaughter in the not too distant future. He's a little nervous of doing it, but we'll see if we can get him to do it with her. And then it'll be great. Right. So as you know, with Get Set Up, we learn from each other. I get wonderful ideas. Mumsy gave me beautiful ideas the other day when we were doing our Create from Waste with toilet rolls. She had some awesome ideas about all sorts of things to help. And so that was really useful. And we're going to, if you want to request a recording, please feel free. If you've joined by live streaming, the best way to participate is to actually register for the class, then you can take part. And anything that I might say or use, please, it's what I use. So therefore I'm not getting a kickback from it. Little about me. I live in Perth, Australia now. I come from South Africa. I was an educator for 44 years. In fact, I'm still teaching now. When I'm not doing Get Set Up, I also teach children to speak English and adults. I enjoy creating and making things, including puzzles, and have a love of animals. Always have, always will. And I enjoy being a Get Set Up guide. I'm forever changing my class when new ideas come in. So it's a work in progress always. This is the progress at the moment. It'll probably change by tomorrow. Right. The one very important thing with your grandchildren is to have fun. It should never be stressful. So the easier the recipes you're cooking, the better it is. Because as soon as there are a lot of ingredients or a lot of steps in what you've got to do, that's when they get impatient, you get impatient with them, and then it becomes not such an enjoyable time. The idea is, even if it doesn't taste exactly as you thought it was going to taste, it doesn't matter. They've made it, and they are so proud of what they've made that they'll eat it anyway. Unless it's really bad, then they are honest enough to say, this didn't work, and the dog gets it or goes into the bin. But don't stress if it doesn't go to plan. Try and get them to wear old clothes. Sometimes mine will, and sometimes mine say, no, that what we're wearing is fine. Then I can get them to just put on an apron. But I do warn them, and I remind them of the time with the electric beater, and usually that gets them to put the clothes on that I want, because we had an incident which I'll tell you about later. And then the most important thing of all is have fun. It's grandparent time with your grandchildren. Now, most of these recipes I actually use for my husband and myself. They are simple, they are easy, they're fun to do, and they are some of our favorites. These 3 bakes are 3 ingredients only. Nothing more, nothing less. If you've got 3 ingredients, you really can't go wrong. And usually you've got all 3 in the house, so it's easy to make them. So the first one that we're going to be doing is the chocolate muffins. Chocolate muffins are a hit with any child. Now, these are healthy ones because we use dark chocolate. As soon as you use dark chocolate, it is far more healthy than using the milk chocolate. It's got less sugar in it. And in fact, diabetics can eat dark chocolate, and they certainly can't eat milk chocolate. So you've got 250 grams of dark chocolate, 3 eggs, and half a cup of self-raising flour. That's it. You're not making huge quantities. The idea is not to make enormous quantities. If you want to, you double it, you treble it. But very often it's just for 2 of you or 3 of you, and you want to be able to eat it hot, ready now, and gone. What you do here is you preheat your oven to 360 or 180, depending on whether you're Fahrenheit or centigrade. And you line the muffin trays with the little cupcake liners. What I do is I melt my chocolate in a large bowl over a pot. I let it melt nicely. I have tried the microwave and I've burnt more chocolate than I care to imagine, so I don't use that, and it's not as healthy anyway. So just put it over a pot of boiling water. It works very quickly, and then I can use that bowl to do the rest of my cooking in anyway. So it works as a dual purpose. Add the eggs one at a time. I beat the eggs before I add them. Now, if I've got 2 grandchildren, I make sure that they each have a bowl, They each have the same amount of chocolate, be it half of what we have. We've got 250 grams. They'll have 125 each. 3 eggs. I will put 1 egg into each. I'll beat up 1 egg and kind of halve it between the two. It's okay. Half a cup of self-raising flour, quarter cup. Then they each have their own bowl. The reason I do that is we had an incident where they were having an argument as to who was going to had the electric beater longer than the other, and they pulled the beater out while it was still working, and we ended up with more chocolate mix on the roof, on the windows, on the tiles, on the floor, on me, on them. So no, we make sure they each have their own bowl and they work with their own bowl. No questions, no fuss, and then everybody's happy. Then we put their cupcake holders on either side of the baking tray. They know exactly who owns which ones, and there can be no grumbling and grousing. All you do is add it, then fold it through until it's combined. Do not mix. Because of being self-raising flour, if you beat it too much, you beat out the raising agent, and then you end up with a very flat-looking cookie. So just gently mix it in. You teach them the difference between beating and gentle mix. As soon as it's well combined, put a spoonful into each of the cupcakes and cook it for 15 to 18 minutes. Simple, easy, lovely to make. It actually makes 6 little cupcakes. So there's 3 each. They're happy as can be. Sometimes, depending on your cupcake container, you can make more or less. It depends on the size that you're putting it into. Any questions? Okay, right, let's continue. Now, these are an all-time favorite in my household, the cheese scones. So easy, so quick to make. We often have them as lunch because you'll see how we can use them for lunch. You've got 2 cups of self-raising flour, 2 cups of milk, 2 cups of grated cheese. If you're wanting to make less, 1, 1, 1. Then you just preheat your oven to 360 or 180. Grease 2 times 6 whole muffin tins. So then that means you're making 12. If you don't want to make 12 and you only want to make 6, you halve your recipe. You add the self-raising flour, the milk, and the grated cheese to the bowl and just stir it until it's combined. That's it. But if you want it for a lunchtime treat instead of afternoon tea, you can add mince, you can add bacon, you can add ham, you can add corn, you can add sweet potato, you can add zucchini, you can add cut up chicken, you can add whatever was for dinner the night before. You can cut up those bits of meat or those bits of whatever you were having and put them into the mixture. Pop it in the oven, and now you've got a savory cheese scone. So they are so simple to make. Very easy, very quick, very light. If you've beaten them, then they don't rise very much. If you haven't beaten them, they rise beautifully. And you get these lovely little cheese scones that are in your cupcakes, your pan holders. Very, very nice indeed. You can store them in an airtight container for a day. If you want to, you can also freeze them and then just thaw them, maybe warm them in the oven shortly, and then you've got lovely hot cheese scones again. So these can be used and stored and frozen and anything else you want. So it's a lovely way of doing it. Any questions? Simple, simple, simple. The simpler, the better. Now, who's ever thought of making lemon scones? When I first was told about lemon scones, I kind of thought, lemon scones? How on earth am I going to make a lemon scone? Not so sure about this. Well, it works beautifully. All you need is thickened cream, which is you buy it as thickened cream. You buy whipping cream and thickened cream. It's the thicker of the creams. A cup of lemonade, which is actually a tin, just under a tin of lemonade. So instead of buying a liter bottle and letting it go flat because you don't bake these so often, you can actually have little tins of lemonade. And if you want to have the sugar-free ones, you can certainly do that as well. And then 3 cups of self-raising flour. And you preheat the oven to 180, line the baking tray with baking paper. All you do is add the cream, the lemonade, and the self-raising flour to a large mixing bowl. Now, something I was taught by a dear old lady many years ago, she used to win every competition with her scones. No matter what she entered, she won. And everybody wanted to know what her secret was. And she said, no, it's my secret. And then when she got really old, she decided she better pass it on to somebody. And for some reason, she decided she rather liked me and she passed it on to me. What she does is she doesn't only sift her flour once, she sifts it 3 times. And sometimes even 4 times, putting it through the sieve so that it's really separated and light and fluffy. And she never, ever uses a wooden spoon, a metal spoon. She uses a butter knife. And she does all her mixing with a knife. Now, when she told me that, I thought, mixing with a knife, I'm going to be there till kingdom come. How on earth do you mix with a knife? It mixes so quickly and so easily. But by cutting through it with the knife and with this very, very fine flour that you've now done, it goes through very quickly. And then you take your scone dough, once it's nicely mixed, and put it onto a flat surface with some flour. Using your shapes, you cut the shape you want. Don't make little flat ones, rather make them quite big to start. Then you get some really nice scones. The ones that are in the picture here are actually my own scones. They don't look as fancy as the ones on the front page, but these are mine. And they were delicious. And so when we're wanting to have a treat over the weekend, I will often make these lemon scones. And they are really nice to eat. And if we're going to the family, I will take some with me too. All you do is pop them in the oven once you've cut your shapes. And all the bits left over, I usually make into a weird shaped ball. And that's the leftover. That's the cook's one. And it might be big, it might be small. It depends on the little leftovers that we have. You bake for around 10 minutes or until golden brown. Allow them to cool and serve. Simple as that. I actually serve them while they're still warm, put a little butter on them, a little bit of jam, and I whip up a bit of cream, pop it on the top. Absolutely delicious. Easy to make, easy to do. The kids love them. Any questions, any comments? No? Okay, everybody's quiet today. Now, the not so goods, but still good. I believe that grandma can have a cheat time with their grandchildren. So once in a while, we will have things that are made with sugar, but most of them are not. The first one I had when I was a child. I'm sure you had it when you were a child, and it's still a favorite with children today. And that is Rice Krispies and marshmallows. And that was always my favorite, my children's favorite, and is still my grandchildren's favorite. And it'll go on from there as well. The second one is a health bar. And the third one is also very healthy, even though it looks as if it's a really chocolatey mix of something. So now, in order to do our marshmallow treats, you take 60 grams of butter, don't use margarine. It's really not good for you at all. The body doesn't know what to do with it. But butter, it'll absorb and get rid of as fast as it needs to. 4 cups of miniature marshmallows. If you can't get miniatures, don't panic. Take your scissors and chop up the big ones. I have got some really big ones and I just chop them up into little pieces. It's just so that it melts easier. That's the only reason why you talk about small ones, is because they melt very quickly. The bigger ones, if chopped up, melt just as quickly. So you melt your marshmallows and your 5 cups of Rice Krispie cereal. Once the butter is melted, when I'm doing anything on the stove, I have a little bunkie. In English, it would probably be called little stool. And the children stand on that. I like them to be able to see into the pot. I don't want them standing on tiptoes trying to be able to see, because that's when problems happen. They grab on the handle in order to see or something like that. So I make sure they are of the right height to stand very firmly and look into the pot that they're cooking in. Then you have no problems, because now they can see, they know that they're standing safely, and you put one on either side of you so that there's no arguing, and they can help. That one gets a turn, then the other one gets a turn if we're working on the stove. As soon as we're off the stove, they each have their own bowl and they work from that. You add the marshmallow, you heat the butter in a pan or a bowl over a low heat, and then I separate the butter into 2. Or I cook it in 2 little pans as well. That's another way of doing it that I do it. And then you give them each 2 cups of marshmallows. They put them in. They cook for a few minutes longer, stirring until the marshmallows are really gooey. And once that is fine, you add the cereal. And you stir, and that becomes very stringy, and you spend your time getting it off fingers and spoons and everything. They love it. And then you can put it in a very flat bowl, which is what I do. Then they don't get too fat a piece. They get thin pieces, and then you lay it out. Once it's cool, cut it into squares, and it lasts for ages. It doesn't have to be eaten within a day or so. Simple and easy. The granola snack. Now, this one is an interesting one. You can substitute. If you are into not using sugar, instead of using brown sugar, use cooking stevia. Cooking stevia is available everywhere. And then just use that. It just won't be quite so golden browny as it is. You can use corn syrup. I use maple syrup because it's organic and it's natural. If there's any chance that they're going to take these cookies anywhere near somebody who might have a nut allergy, a peanut allergy, rather use the other nuts. Instead of using peanut butter, use macadamia butter or almond butter, any of those, because most people don't have allergies to those. It's only the peanuts that 90% of people have an allergy to. But do take allergies seriously. When I was young as a teacher, I didn't take it that seriously. I thought the children didn't want to eat something, so they said they were allergic. I knew one little girl in my class was allergic to peanuts, and we were doing a tasting exercise. So her group had nothing to do with nuts. There was no chance she could get anything nutty. But she washed her knife in the soapy water I had for washing. And within 2 minutes, she could hardly breathe. She hadn't eaten it. She hadn't ingested. It had touched her skin. She was that allergic to peanuts. Fortunately, we had the right equipment and we were able to give her an EpiPen and for anaphylactic shock, and she was fine. But it taught me such a lesson that you really do have to take into account that if somebody's allergic, check with the parents, or if you think somebody might just not be able to handle peanuts, don't use them. Use any of the other nuts. It's much safer that way. In Australia, you may not bring anything with nuts or peanuts into school at all. It's banned in schools purely for that reason. And vanilla essence. The children enjoy the flavor of this. You just put everything together and you set it aside. All the dry ingredients, then all the brown sugar, the corn syrup, you mix them and get that to work. Add in the peanut butter or nut butter, and vanilla, and then finally put it into the dry ingredients. Make sure they're well coated and place it at the bottom. Cut it up into squares when it is cool. Again, these are the sort of things I keep in grandma's jar. My grandchildren, they hardly say hello before they're in the door. Can I have a cookie? They always head to grandma's jar, and there'll be something that I've made. If I haven't had time to make, then it'll be one of the things that I bought for them. But there's always something in grandma's jar. And the children next door cottoned onto this as well. When they come, they see my grandchildren arrive and they want to know, what are we making today? And I have half the neighborhood, but that's fine. I really don't mind. Any questions about the granola snack? Any questions about the marshmallow snack? We've got one more to go in this part of the series. No? Okay. Right. Now, the last one, we have cooking stevia or sugar, butter, milk, unsweetened cocoa powder, cooking oats, and vanilla essence. And again, basically putting them all together in a combination, and then you lay it flat inside your baking tray. And as it's just starting to get hard, cut the shapes that you want. And then all the little bits that are left from those shapes, you put them into another little jar as tidbit jar. And sometimes they're only allowed a tidbit, other times they're allowed a cookie. And so you use your things all the way along. Thank you. So that is awesome. And it's a lovely way of being able to use oats, which are good for them. These are the kind of snacks that will keep them going for the whole afternoon until supper time. So they are easy to use and complete. Biscuit icing, fun exercise. Lots of fun to do with the children. You can set them themes according to their ages. Now, little ones, I don't always use icing sugar. I often use stevia again. Stevia sugar in with the food coloring and a little bit of water. It works perfectly. It makes it nice and thick. It still bonds together. And so I use that. Sometimes I use icing sugar. It just depends on how hyped up they are when they arrive. So you've got all the different ones. You can make animals. You can set a theme for the day. I want you to all make animals. And then they'll make elephants with trunks, and they'll make koala bears, and they'll make all sorts of things. You could set them to make insects for the day. You can set them to make monsters for the day. You can set all sorts of things, and then you put out what you would like them to use. So they've got to use a bit of their imagination. They've got to decide if they want to cut the things to fit different sizes or use them as they are. You might only give them a certain number of things and say, out of this, I want you to create. And then the sky's the limit. They go and they make amazing things. You can make bugs, beetles, worms, it's just never ending what they come up with. They come up with wonderful things. The old-fashioned ice cream cone is still very much a favorite, where you can either put a little gift inside for them to take home, or you can put some sweets inside and then just putting it together as another form of icing. The bottom, then the middle, and then cutting off the little top as your top of your head. There are different ways you can put it together. You can make faces, happy faces, sad faces, grumpy faces, and then they can tell you a story about their character. What did their character do? Or with the older children, which works very nicely, they combine their characters into a story. And then they tell you the story of these characters. And this one did this and that one went here. And they each have their own character and what does their character do. And the others can listen and decide whose story is the best story. And it really works so well. You can do it with 2 children, you can do it with 5 children, you can do it with any number. And they all put their stories together. Sometimes they have combining all of them. Sometimes they each have to do their own individual story about their character and why they made that character. And it's a beautiful exercise with them, and they really do enjoy doing it. At first they grumble, oh, I have to make a story. Then as they're creating their student, their character. Now suddenly, if I put a scar on the face, that will make that character to be a real baddie. And if I do this, now suddenly their characters come alive. Sometimes they'll make 2 characters and the 2 characters tell a story. So you can build what you want with your icing. It's not just a simple icing exercise. It certainly can be, but you can certainly turn it into a far more interesting and creative idea with them and their icing creatures, animals, people. Anybody got anything they'd like to say?
You're good.
Thanks, Tony. Have you got some ideas?
Yeah. I'm still thinking.
You're still thinking. Well, that's good. At least I've got you thinking. That's very important. Excellent. And Mumsy and Priscilla, are you thinking? Is there anything you can use from what we've come across and what we've been doing?
So on Valentine's Day, I made, actually fried an egg. I made it into an art scene for my granddaughter. And she was so excited. All I did was take a Vienna, cut it off, made it into an art scene, put it on the fry pan and put the egg in it. And she still talks about it.
Oh, but that's so beautiful. You see, these are the sort of things your brain starts working. Now, in a few seconds on the next one, here are just some simple, this is now teasing you for the one that I do on snacks. Here are some snacks right here for you to look at. This is your fruit time. Why make a fruit salad? Boring. I've got a fruit salad in front of me. So what do? We cut up the fruit into different shapes. They then design. But there is one rule, and that rule cannot be broken. What you touch, you eat. So if you take something and you use it for your design, you eat it. And there's no negotiation. So you've got to think, what do I want to eat? And if I don't want to eat this, then I can't have it in my design. The older ones get clever and maybe make a deal with their friend or their brother or sister. But the idea is to just give them an apple. The older ones, you can give them an apple, give them a knife and say, I want a sea creature. You can make amazing sea creatures out of an apple. Absolutely awesome. You can make octopus, you can make jellyfish, you can make crabs, you can make fish, you can make an array of things just out of an apple. And they love making these designs. Now they go and eat their apple slowly but surely. They don't have to eat it all in one, but there has to be eaten before the next meal. So they can have some, go off and do something, have a bit more. I don't expect them to eat it all in one go. That's an afternoon snack and can be eaten, but by dinner it has to be eaten. So there's no negotiation. And they learn that very quickly because when it gets to supper time and there's something nice and they haven't finished their fruit, and I say, no, fruit first, then supper. So they learn very quickly, and then they are able to have their meal and be able to do it. Look at the apple, and the grape has been turned into a car. Now they can have a car race. They can set a little track on a plate, and who gets there first, theirs was the winner. It doesn't get eaten, or it does get eaten, or whatever. But they can play with their cars. They can make butterflies. They can make dragonflies, beautiful dragonflies with grapes and pieces of melon, instead of putting it into a straight fruit salad. The older ones and the younger ones, they can do it just as well. You say to them, I want a scene. I want a picture. I want to see a picture. So there's your palm trees, there's your sand, there's everything there on the plate. They've used kiwi fruit, they've used bananas, and they've used some nachis or mandarins. People call them mandarins here. I'm learning the Australian words for the things that I know in South Africa.
Okay.
And I'm sure other people use them in different countries. I came off very badly when I first got here. I'm allergic to red pepper. It really makes me sick. And when I got here, I hadn't been here more than a few days, and the family decided to, because I was staying with them until I'd set up, and then my husband would join me. They decided they were going to have some pizza, and they said, do you like this pizza, Mum? And I looked at all the ingredients. I said, yeah, no, everything's fine on that. Then I was as sick as a dog. I said, are you sure there was no red pepper in that? So they all looked at me totally blank. They said, but it was full of it. It's capsium. We don't call it red pepper here. We call it capsium. Nobody bothered to tell me that. I wouldn't have touched it. So you have to learn the names of things very quickly, or you come off second best. The last picture in the corner of the right, you can take a banana, slice the banana in half, put a variety of ingredients in the center of the table. Each child at the table can either do a whole banana or half a banana, and they choose what they want to put on it. They then cut that piece of banana into the number of people that are around the table, and everybody gets to taste their combination. And they can either have a competition as to whose combination was the nicest. They can have whose was the strangest, whose one really was the worst. And it can be that kind of competition, but each piece has to be eaten. So you can't make something that nobody's going to eat, because you're going to eat it and so are they. So they're not going to like you. So it's a fun way of getting them to get creative with their food. Food that appeals to the eyes is the easiest food to consume. If it looks good, you want to try it. If it doesn't, you stand back and say, I don't think I really want to try that. So if you can get their food looking exciting, and in my snacks, I have so many different ideas of turning just a slice of bread into something really interesting, as just one of the many things that we cover in our snacks that we make, grandma's snacks. But this, for me, is the ideal way of giving children fruit, making it different, and making them enjoy their fruit. Any thoughts, any ideas?
No, these are great ideas. Beautiful.
So hopefully it's now sparking. Oh, I wonder if I can do this. I wonder if I can do that. Now's the time to start thinking and coming up with your own ideas as to what combinations you would like to put together, how things, if there's a theme that they're working with, that they're loving being under the sea, or they're loving being pirates, you can turn your snacks into pirate treasure. You can turn your snacks into a pirate hat. You can turn your snacks into all sorts of things that they can then have as part of their meal. So I hope my one aim today was to get you excited about cooking with your grandchildren, not dreading it because, oh, there's going to be mess, there's going to be this, there's going to be that, we're going to argue. No, simple, 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 and then exciting. That's my aim. I hope I achieved it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. If you'd like to leave comments, I will leave you I will give you the link to that. That just tells Get Set Up and myself if we're going in the right direction. And if there are more classes or other things you'd like to see, please feel free. I'm adding to my 18 different ones. I've got 18 for April. I'm hoping to have at least another 2 by May. So I'm trying to get a variety so that there's something that everybody likes or would like to do. One of my new ones that I had on the first, which was interesting, was Boredom Busters for seniors. I had done it for children and I thought, why not for us? So I've come up with a variety of things that we can do when we feel bored. And it was quite good on the first day. So I was quite pleased that people actually said, oh, I didn't think about that. And that's what I want. I want you thinking. I want you creating, making, thinking, doing. Then I'm happy. Have a wonderful day, everybody. Thank you. If you'd like to get a recording, please request it at help@getsetup.io. I'll send you an email after the class with some of the recipes that are there. You will get all the recipes. It's easy for you. And I hope to maybe see you in some of the other classes. All right. Any final comments from anybody?
Thank you, Sue. Very inspiring. I'm definitely going to try it.
Excellent. Excellent. That's great. That's exactly what I'm looking for. That people are inspired to try things and do different things. Thank you so much, Tony, for being in class, Priscilla for being in class, and Mumsy, and Lester. Awesome that you're still here with me. Lester's going through all the classes. That's great. Have an awesome, well, you're getting to Friday by Mumsy's into Friday. Priscilla and Tony, you're getting into Friday shortly.
Oh, yeah.
So have a great Friday. And I hope to see you all again.
Thank you.
Pleasure. Bye for
Bye.
now.